I'm Kate,
I'm Elle.
and we are down to Fae. Quick what we're reading, what we're watching update before we get into Queen of Shadows. I did finish Guild by Raven Kennedy, and I have a lot to say.
Okay.
So that's going to be the next standalone review episode. And then I just started The Ever King by LJ Andrews, not to be confused with The Never King.
Oh,
That was the Peter Pan
yeah. I was
retelling
like,
where they
wait a
were running
second.
a train on Windy. Very different book.
Okay. I was like, wow. All right. What are your thoughts on Guild?
The ending hooked me into continuing the series like they always do.
Okay.
Like at the very, very end, there is a big revelation about the FMC, and there's the introduction of Fae. It's one of
Okay.
those series where you're like, wait a minute, what? Fae exist? And we have potential of seeing and learning more about the world. We maybe met our MMC because there is no fucking way King Midas is our MMC. He
Wait, you had an
sucks.
entire book with no MMC?
No, I think it was in the last like 10%, if I'm even right about this being the guy. Because
Okay.
there was one guy I liked dead, and then we have King Midas, and so it has to be this Fae guy that we just met that has spikes. I don't know what's going on. So
Huh.
we do finally see some anger and some fight from the FMC, which is one of my biggest, what is it? Not critiques or criticisms, but it was like something that bothered me.
Yeah.
So I will eventually read Glint, book 2 in the series, especially because I've gotten a lot of messages now that I've been talking about it. People saying, like, you have to keep reading. The story really takes off. And I understand that. There's a lot of series where I've told people, like, okay, you have to get through the first book.
Yeah.
But I will say, if you're thinking about reading it, heavy trigger warning for sexual assault. And there is one scene, I mean, I thought it was never going to end. I understand why it had to happen. Like, it is the catalyst for the FMC to reveal the big twist, to like reveal herself. I just wish it had happened before the assault or earlier on during the assault.
You mean the reveal?
Yeah, it was just a very hard listen.
Look,
And it's supposed to be like you're supposed to be angry and disturbed reading it, but
yeah.
assault and grooming is just so much of that first book.
I am really impressed you finished the first book.
You
If
know,
that's
I
the,
can't DNF.
I know. And it's much harder for me to read like really dark romance. Like I
Mhm.
can read some dark, but when it gets to that level of dark, it's hard for me.
Well, and obviously this is a fantasy book, so it's not based on like actual like an actual time period or location or anything,
Yeah.
but they're still based on and inspired by history, and you can't write things that happen to women out of history. That is a
Mhm.
reality then, it's unfortunately a reality now. I understand why it has to be in these stories. It was just very long and detailed.
Oh god.
And there hasn't been a lot of world building. Most of the book takes place in the palace, and it's 99% Auron's inner dialogue, which is weird because once we get to the big reveal, I'm like, I was in your head for an entire book. How did I not know this about you? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
We've said that about Aelin before.
Yeah, and it's even more than that though. And
Wow.
you know what it was giving? It was really giving prequel or
Okay.
like a very long prologue. Like I think it was just kind of setting us up for the story. And I am interested enough to start book 2 and at least see where it goes.
Okay.
So I've started to, like with Guild, I've just started to trust Podium for audiobooks. It's the company that did Quicksilver. And a lot of the books I've been recommending lately are Podium because they're dual narration. And that's how I landed on my current read, The Ever King. And I'm maybe like halfway in. The setup is interesting enough. There are land fae and sea fae, and they sound a lot like pirates. And I was trying to think if I've ever read a pirate or sea fae book, like if we've ever talked about one before
I think there's a C.N. Crawford one that I have read.
with bones in the title.
Nope. There is a siren book
Yes. Okay.
that, but it wasn't Fae per se.
And
But
then
yeah,
I
there's,
think I read something by Whit Stanfield that was maybe about sirens or mermaids or something.
oh, yeah, I was going to say, even the one I read from C.N. Crawford, it was a while ago. And I feel like I could have used more
Yeah.
information. So I
And
hope this
obviously
is good.
the myrrh in Crescent City.
Obviously.
So it is, I mean, they're sea fae, but everything they do sounds like pirates. And it's dual POV, which I love, except so in a lot of the books when there's a male narrator and a female narrator, anytime it switches back and forth, no matter whose POV it is, it switches between those narrators.
Mhm.
But this is like if it's her POV and she's saying something that the guy said, she says it in her voice. So she's saying, and then I told him this, and then he said blah 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 blah, like with a deep voice. And
Yeah,
I don't love that.
I get it in that it seems like if she was telling it to a friend, like, when like,
Yeah.
you're relaying something to them.
Well, especially him because his female voice is like it's kind of cartoonish. You remember like when you would watch cartoons and they would like dress up like a woman, like Bugs Bunny type characters?
Yeah.
Kind of like that. And the narrators are also aggressively British.
Okay.
Like put a British person in your head.
Is it hard to understand?
Just like picture a British person.
Okay.
Now make them a Victorian chimney sweep. Now give them makeup too dark for their complexion, and then stuff a piece of toast with beans into their mouth. And that is what this sounds like, respectfully, because they're very good at what they do. But it's so like the woman to me sounds like if you watch The Others with
Uh-huh.
Nicole Kidman, sounds like that little girl. Like she just sounds very young and like petulant.
Oh, okay.
But the guy is very gruff, pirate sounding. So when they're together, I can't help picturing like an adult and a child, you know?
See, and this is where I have trust issues when it comes to Audible books, because sometimes I'm like, I'm really interested and I'm just afraid that the actual narrator is going to ruin something for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You have to let us know how it goes.
I will keep everyone updated because this is another one that I've seen a lot of people rave about. And one thing about me is I'm a follower. So I am going to finish it and I'll let you guys know because we haven't had spice yet,
Okay.
but I think we're getting there.
Okay. Building up to it.
And then you're still preparing for our KF Breen.
Oh gosh, we're going to have a month of KF Breen, and I can't wait because there's so many series that I think several of them we've recommended before. Some of them I can't shut up about, so we will gladly devolve into that one.
Especially Demon Days, Vampire Nights. We both love that series.
Yes, I said devolve. Delve? Whatever. Fall apart. We'll fall deep into that conversation because there's so
Deep
much.
dive.
Well, some of them like Demon Days, Vampire Nights, there's like, oh my God, like 9 or 12 books. Like there's so many books.
Mhm.
There's so much to get into. It's so great. I'm currently doing Ruin of Roses, which is more like dark, delicious fairy tales.
Mhm.
Very spicy. So I'm still reading through that one because I'm trying to like get all the background information to discuss for everybody.
Well, and speaking of series we can't shut the fuck up about, Black Dagger Brotherhood just released a teaser for the show, and you know what?
What?
It did not look that cringe.
Okay.
I mean, it looked okay, right? Like
hope
for
so.
the budget that they have, I thought
Yeah.
it looked pretty good.
Well, and I don't know. Well, I have to like reserve my judgments.
Yes.
And just like
Well,
see
you
how
have
it
to go
goes.
into it knowing like this was not like Martin Scorsese. Like this is passion flicks.
Well, I also
with an X.
when you love the series that much, you know, there's certain things you're getting so much information when you read it that
Mhm.
if it's just shown to you, I'm like, is it cheesier if I don't have all the backstory because
Yeah.
I'm not reading? I don't know. I'll just have to. I'm very excited to watch it.
So
We'll have
we
to watch
wanna
it together.
that, and then speaking of details and, like, you can't put everything into a movie or TV show, we did
Mhm.
just talk about A Discovery of Witches for our book review, and we talked about the show and the series, the All Souls trilogy by Deborah Harkness, so that's our review this week.
Yes.
And then so my hyperfixation this week was I've decided I simply will die if I don't get the original Throne of Glass set. Not the Barbie ones, not like OG,
Yeah.
but that I mean, you know what it looks like.
Where did you like what got you fixated on that?
I
Because
don't know.
I think I've seen some of the covers and then you
Mhm.
reminded me, but I don't know if I've seen all the covers. I'm curious.
It's hard to find, and people are absolutely insane on like, I found one on Facebook Marketplace, and it was all the paperback books, and it was $300, and I was like, "You know what? I'm an adult. I don't have children. I can do this." And I sent her a message, and she never messaged me back, and it's still listed as for sale. And I don't know how many messages to send. I would have to drive like an hour, and then I'd probably get murdered. So I don't know. I guess that's not going to happen. And then I was looking on eBay, and I don't truly know how eBay works. Like I don't have an account, but some were like, I shit you not, $1,500.
Were they hardbacks at least?
Those were
Okay.
hardbacks, but then I saw some paperbacks that were still like 800.
I mean, to be able
Paperback fucking, they're not signed.
I'll say to be able to ask that price, somebody has paid that much before.
There's not even an option, like, I guess
To
usually on
haggle with
eBay,
them?
yeah, you can't bid.
Hmm. I guess you could message them and be
So,
like, 200.
but now I'm like, I get something in my head and I can't, like, I can't think about, I'm not gonna be able to live without them.
I mean, I do that too, though, and I,
I
like,
don't even have
fully
bookshelves. That's another thing.
fully spiral. Oh, Kate ordered bookshelves, like, 3 months ago, and
Yeah.
she and, IKEA are in a battle
I mean,
about
it's
getting them
not
to
like I
her.
ordered them from some scam or something. Like, I ordered them from IKEA.com, and it has been 3 months of first they canceled my order and never got a notification or an email, which is very weird. So I called and they were like, the payment didn't process. And I was like, that's weird because I'm looking at my bank account and the money was taken out.
Uh-huh.
And so then they were like, oh, it was a glitch in the matrix and we're going to like do it again. So then there was another order and it never came. Like I keep getting these dates where they're like, it's going to be here by then. And then it never is. And I'm like, how am I like, why is IKEA fucking with me right now?
Why
This is
you
a legitimate
specifically?
company. I'm confused.
Yeah. I don't know. That's really
So
frustrating
I
for
don't even
you.
have anywhere to actually put these expensive books.
That you must have.
Yeah.
I
I
know,
don't know what's
same.
going on.
Well, I bought that, the Throne of Glass
Mhm.
series from Acrylipics, and I have nowhere to display them, and I love them, and I
Those are
also
gorgeous. I'm not as in love with their new design, respectfully.
same.
Mhm.
You know, and some of the other series, like the other
Like
SJM
ACOTAR,
series,
yeah.
the Crescent City books, and this to each their own. I mean, if you guys love them, I don't mean to be disrespectful. I just the colors are almost, like, too bright for me,
Mhm.
and, like, the very first book is, like, a bright orange red, like,
Yeah.
all over it, and it's almost, like, too bright.
Yeah.
So, like, I have started to spiral on getting special edition books as well, and so now I'm like, "Where's the best place to shop for these?" Because Kate signed up for Fairy Loot, and you got some awesome
I
books.
finally like I was on the wait list for Owl Crate and Fairy Loot for like at least a year
Yeah, because
before
then
I was finally on there.
I saw yours, and I was like, "Oh, shit, I need that."
Yeah, I've
But,
gotten some
like,
really pretty ones. Like I don't want to rub it in. I haven't been sending you pictures, but I've gotten some gorgeous like Helen Schurer.
how dare you not share these? Is
Yeah.
a oh, Helen Scher, is that the Siren Queen?
Yes, it's not
Shut the
that
fuck up.
series, but it's like a new book of hers and it is so pretty. And it
Okay.
is just sitting on the
How
ground.
dare you not send me a picture? I mean, honestly, I would have to try not to steal it because, like, some of those are so pretty, and I did sign up for Fairy Loot, but it was in December, so I've probably got
Mhm.
a year to go
Oh
till
yeah.
they accept me.
It's worth it though.
But also, like, can I get the same copies that Kate has? I don't want it to, like
No.
that
I'll sell you mine.
I bet you won't. I just don't want it to get, like, I finally get the, um, my god, what's the word? Subscription or whatever, and
Yeah.
then I get totally different books, and I'm sure they'd be beautiful, but,
Yeah,
like,
I think they're all pretty.
I'm lusting over the ones that Kate has,
Yeah.
like, I want those.
Hmm.
So, if somebody has a better recommendation where I could buy things now for the bookshelf that I also don't have,
Mhm.
I
We're
would love
just
that
building our personal libraries with no shelves.
someday.
And
Also, actually, as I'm, like, falling apart talking about books, where is everybody putting their book stickers? I'm getting a very large collection of
mhm.
stickers, and I don't wanna actually put them on my books because that would be a
Yeah.
travesty. And I mean, I can put them on a Stanley, but I'm inconsistent with carrying that, and
Mhm.
my Kindle is, like, tiny. Where are people putting these stickers? Like, do you guys
I don't know.
are you putting them on a bulletin
Like
board?
a
Like, are
bulletin
they,
board or
like
like a cork board or something? Yeah.
'cause I have so many fun stickers, and I've seen some more, from this Etsy shop that I'll
Mhm.
probably talk about next week because I
And
ordered a
then we'll have
shirt.
stickers. We have stickers, we just have to and I bought
Yes.
a domain name, like, I don't wanna brag, I own part of the internet now.
It's a big deal.
I just have to figure out how to design the website. Like, I signed up for Squarespace, and I just have to, figure my shit out, and then
Yeah.
we'll have stickers,
So
and
we
they're very
also
cute.
have stickers, and, like, I have our stickers because I
So where
have
are y'all
some of
gonna
the
put them?
originals. Where do I put them? I need some ideas. Somebody help me because I want them all on display. I don't want it to be in some book that nobody will ever see. I want them
Yes.
out there for everybody.
And while we're yapping, there's the TikTok drama right now is there is this guy who cosplays, you would probably recognize him because he dresses up a lot as not I don't know if he's Aegon. He just does a lot of like blonde cosplay.
Oh, okay.
And he was saying like men, if you want to pick up single women, like it was kind of like single desperate women, you should go to
Rude.
fantasy balls. First of all, can we not have one fucking thing that's just ours? That is the one safe space. Like every space belongs to a man. Can we not have this one place to go and feel safe from men being predators?
If you are coming to a fantasy ball, you better fucking know the book
You
series.
better know.
You
You
better
better
be
be
there
a
because we have a
fan.
similar appreciation. You better not be showing up to skis on me.
That's
I am there
disgusting.
for like, oh God, because we had so much fun at the fantasy ball. We were in our pretty dresses and our
Mhm.
crowns, but also we were just like dancing around, having girl time with other girls. Like it was just girlhood. And
And
I don't need your skeeving in there.
there were guys there, but they were either like clearly brought there by a significant other or clearly actually fans.
Yeah.
So like if there's just guys walking around in like cheap wings, I just no.
I want to be comfortable there and be able
Yes.
to relax and feel safe. I don't need to worry about you trying to like spike my drink while I'm dancing with my friends.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can understand why that's going to be a bit of a controversy.
Well, and it's that, and then it's also the debate of if fantasy balls should have cosplayers there, because one side of the argument is that it's kind of giving like prom king and queen vibes when they come out, and it's just like a popularity contest almost.
Oh,
And
like
apparently,
between the different like cosplayers?
no, that it's just like they come out as celebrities, and it's not. It's kind of becomes about them,
Oh, I mean, I think
and they're
if
like
they're there, they just need to be there, not a
well, and
big
I guess
display of them.
some charge for pictures?
Oh, no.
Like, that's a
Especially
lot.
if you're being paid to be there. Like,
I do
I'm already.
wonder about their pay system. I more than that, I wonder who's fucking. I
Oh,
wanna
yeah.
know who's hooking up. Like, if I wanna know about beef, because 'cause there's gotta be beef of, like, there's a couple Reeses, there's a couple Cassians, like, do they all hate each other?
Well, now
Are
look,
they friends?
I'm
Is it a
sure
circle jerk?
some of them are best friends and they support that they're all going to be Aelin somewhere. But like, do you think you're a better Aelin than me? Are you getting more jobs
Yeah.
as Aelin than I am?
Yeah,
Like,
because I mean, they're
where is the like, you
competition,
can't be not be a little bit better.
or is it like divided by territory where it's like, this is the Bryce of the South. You get California.
You can't
I
come over
want to
here.
know the tea about the cosplayers because I am so intrigued by that world.
What is the drama? And yeah, who is hooking up? Because that's wild and I
Because they're
want to hear
all
all of it.
attractive. Like, surely someone's fucking. And I love the cosplayers, like the ones that we've interacted with on Instagram and everything.
Oh, yeah.
They're very sweet and they're supportive. And I like the idea of cosplayers being at events,
I
but
do too. I mean, because it just adds to the air of
yeah.
fantasy. But I don't know. I do understand there being a distinction between like, because like when we went to the fantasy ball, we bumped into Tamlin. He was there hanging out
Mhm.
with a girl dressed as
And he
Amarantha.
was just walking around
Yeah, he was like
talking. It
being a
wasn't
supportive, like
yeah.
he's there for the role, but it wasn't like a presentation like Tamlin is here,
Well,
like,
they didn't do some of the I guess some of the events do that where they
yeah.
like have like the inner circle walking in and everyone's taking videos and stuff. But yeah, it's
Which I don't think I would hate either. I guess it just depends what you're there for.
yeah.
Because at some point, like, yes, it's so exciting they're here, but then I would also want them to just be part of the crowd.
I
So
see
like I
both
could hang
sides,
out
yeah.
with them and I don't know.
Yeah. So that's
Interesting.
the drama.
You guys keep us updated if you know more on the drama. We love to hear it.
So let's get back into Queen of Shadows.
Okay.
We pick up in chapter 57 with Aelin, Adian, Rowan, Kael, and Nesrin watching as the 13 and their wyverns land in Oakwald Forest for the meeting between the witches and the king.
I'm actually going to derail the conversation again because
Already?
look, I just need a second. I
Okay.
was re-listening to this morning and I don't know if like I'm just really smart or like really
Okay.
far behind the curve. I had an epiphany and I was like,
Hmm.
okay, we already talked about this and I just missed it. Or hopefully this isn't a spoiler, but they talk about Oakwald Forest and it being Brandon's forest and it's in
Yes.
Otterlin.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it not in Terracin? Why is there an area of Otterlin with Brandon's name in it? And
Was
then
he hiding the stags there? Because I know that he took the stags to Oakwald.
but I mean, like, so then I spiraled though, because I don't remember, and maybe we haven't gotten to that part yet, if they specifically discuss where the Great War was, but I do know they discussed how Brandon took the keys from Maeve
Mm-hmm.
and went across the sea. So I'm assuming the Great War was around Windland.
I
This
think it was
continent
in
far away.
Wendland, and then he went and he founded Terracin, and I guess
But did he found the entire continent? Like,
I think
was Oakwald
Terracin used to be bigger, and then he,
okay.
like, broke off part of it and gave it to Gavin and Elena,
Yeah.
and that became
Well,
Otterlin,
because I had that
if I had
thought.
to guess.
I'm not sure how long Brandon was on this continent before Elena was born and before Gavin. But yeah, was Oakwald Forest original? Because like, why would he put his precious sun stags in another country?
Was there
Like, was
something
Oakwald?
about the forest, like the little
Yeah, but like,
fairies that lived there, or
was this originally Terracin? Like, because I would imagine if it was that important to the little folk, it would be part of his territory.
Mhm.
And then did he give it to Elena and Gavin? Because Gavin was the first king of Otterland. So
I
like,
think for their marriage, he gave them Otterlin.
or maybe the defeat of Erewhon allegedly in the Second War.
I don't know.
So if I have totally missed this and it was already discussed and I'm just an idiot, you guys tell me. If you guys know where to find this information,
Mhm.
I'm so
I mean, it's
curious.
possible there was, like, one line somewhere, but I definitely don't remember it being like, I remember in the first book, her talking about, like, this was Brandon's forest, the trees probably still remember him, and the
Yeah,
guard's like, "Hmm, those trees would have to be 1,500 years or those trees would have to be 2,000 years old." So that establishes, like,
a bit of a
somewhat of
timeline.
a timeline, but yeah, it's also and then there's something about I think Elena and Gavin was 1,000 years ago because
Yeah.
Dorian talks about a millennium
But I don't
ago.
know how old Elena was when she met Gavin either.
I
So,
don't
like, she
either.
may already be 1,000 years old. I don't remember that being discussed. But yeah, I have questions about like if this area was so precious to Brannon, why would it not be a part of Terracin? I
I
just
don't
like
know.
totally spiraled on that when I was listening and I was like, hold the phone.
No, that's
Why did I not
valid.
think about that before? And it probably has nothing to do with anything.
I spiral. I'm gonna spiral later about the dumbest. It just doesn't matter, but
Well, there's so many small details, and like we've reread this series way too many times. I have re-listened to this specific book at least 5 times already in the last few months
mhm.
because I'll listen to it for an episode, and I keep listening, and I'm like, whoops,
Yeah,
got to go back. But and I there's just little details each time that I'm like, why did I not think about that the last time I heard
yeah.
it? And maybe there's no good answer.
Well, it's the timeline is all in all of SJM's books have always been kind of like we spiraled about this with Crescent City with the 15,000 years ago
Hmm.
and how it didn't really make sense and trying to line up the timelines with Throne of Glass and Silver Flames. So,
And
yeah.
I mean, for everybody listening, I do know that especially in Tower of Dawn, we're going to get a lot more history.
Yes.
And so I'm having a moment. Maybe there's something because I don't reread Tower of Dawn very often,
Why?
which is why I'm so excited that we're going to do the tandem read. But
Yeah.
so maybe there's a detail I've just forgotten,
Mhm.
and I hope we get to it. And maybe you guys can help me out, or like maybe I've just like
Did
stumbled
you
upon a
just
whole new thing.
unlock something and SGM's gonna be like, "Oh,
It was me this time. Some inconsistencies here, guys. Okay, well, we're back in Oakwald Forest. Let me get back to the story as I just like spiraled on that. Oakwald Forest, this meeting between the witches and the king, and it's a meeting where the high bitch is going to show the king whatever it is that she's been doing on her little side quest.
and Lysandra will be given to the 13 to take back to Morath."
Yes, because we learned in the last episode that Arabin, as a final fuck you, outed Lysandra as a shifter, and he did it from beyond the grave. So originally they were heading to try to save Lysandra before they got even more information about the meeting with the
So,
king.
speaking of getting stuck on dumb shit,
Okay.
Aelin snuck in, switched Arabin's will, but the letter with Lysandra's heritage was sent as part of Arabin's will, was it not? Like, did she not see that part? Was that separate? Would she not
Hmm.
have seen that when she was going in and out?
Was it like a caveat? Like it wasn't
I
in
don't
the will
know.
directly, but it was like, here are my final wishes if something happens?
Well, also, how did Arabin even know that Lysandra was a shifter? Like, her father never in the picture. Her mother abandoned her and left when Lysandra was really young. Magic had vanished when Arabin found her because she was stuck in that form. So how would he have ever figured it out?
Okay, here's another spiral. Um,
Uh-oh.
I just put my mouth on the mic. So well, like leaning in way too hard to talk about this. You know how in Assassin's Blade, there was that list of people that were considered to be sympathizers against the slavery movement.
Yeah, the one that he like tricked her into getting.
Was there an original list of magic wielders or potential
Like a registry.
family, yeah, or just something that, like, the king has had for a long time, because magic was outlawed in Otterland way before the fall of magic.
Mhm.
So, was this something like anybody that was left he kept an eye on, and then maybe they knew her father briefly, and they knew him, and then they
Even
didn't know
so,
about her
how
and
would
then
they have
deduced?
known Lysandra? Like, she to them is an orphan. How I just don't know how they would have ever traced anything. Even if they knew her family line was, how'd they trace it to her?
Well, if Lysandra said that she never once told Arabin or anybody, how would he fucking
I
know?
don't know.
Oh god, is this a plot hole? I'm not ready.
Or we're dumb.
Ma
I mean, with all of the things that come up, it's either we're very smart or we're very fucking
We're
stupid.
making
We are
some
some
either
stupid little sluts.
really impressive connections, or we have totally missed something that they're like, "Duh, guys, you talked about this 2 weeks ago."
50-50.
Well, if anybody knows, it's something we've
Yeah,
forgotten,
DM us.
plenty of opportunities to let us know.
Oh,
So,
we love getting DMs. Like, I love getting memes and DMs. And you know what my favorite thing is? Obviously, I love
obviously.
reviews. Like, we've gotten a couple new reviews on Apple Podcasts, which is so
Yay!
fun. But we've also gotten where other people will be on like TikTok and they're talking about, I wish there was a podcast that would recap some of the books before I read like the second and third one.
Yeah, people have been
And they
referring
tag
people.
us. And it's, yeah, it's like a referral. I
Thank you
love that.
so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah.
That means that they loved what we're saying enough that they're like, "Somebody else needs to
Which is
listen."
insane. Yeah. Thank
I
you.
I love that. Yeah, but like, there's just moments we're talking here and I will blank on something and it'll come to me later, but
Like the Harry Potter alchemist.
oh, Nicholas Flamel. Do you know how many times I've
She
read those fucking
knows.
books? Do you know how many times?
Well, I asked because I was like, I can't think of it, but I know she'll be able to. No.
And then I was so like, my mind is focused on Throne of Glass right now. So you can't ask me outside questions because I'm like, what?
I set you up to fail. I'm so
How could
sorry.
you do that to me on camera? But so if there's something we've blanked on, we love when you guys help remind us because, like, duh, that's what I was
Duh.
thinking. Duh. So back to the meeting again. This is the first time that the circle jerk is seeing the wyverns. So obviously it's terrifying because these things didn't exist till the king created them.
They
It,
did though. I'm keep going. I'm gonna spiral
oh,
later.
okay. I can't wait for this. Well, to their knowledge, they're lost or something, so they haven't seen them before. But it is noted that the smallest wyvern, the one with the spider silk wings, is sprawled on his belly, smelling the flowers.
One, Your
Precious.
Honor, I love him. Two, I feel like we need a history of the wyverns because were they not an extinct species that the Valg recreated or resurrected with magic? Because they aren't corrupt like the other creatures, the Volg. I'm saying it twice. I'm saying it two different ways because one of them will be right.
Live your life.
That they but like they most of the things that they fucked with have turned out to be corrupt,
Mhm.
and we'll see when what happens to them, you know, what happens to things they've created, and it doesn't happen with the wyverns. Is
As
that
we as
because they existed before?
as we spiral, did the dragons ever come up again in the series? And I've forgotten.
You know, I think that there is
Because
a certain character who did not like the fire that they were capable of.
okay,
And
wipe them out. Well,
yes.
so this question, we were doing Throne of Glass trivia and we thought we knew everything. And somebody asked, one of the questions was,
I need to sign up for the other one because
what
there's
was on the door of the library in
and we were
Otterland when they
it was
first it
dragons
was
and
dragons and we were like, obviously it's wyverns. Wyverns
we
are
raised our
everything.
hand. We were like, sorry, it's actually wyverns. And she was like, it's actually dragons. And I was like, I wanted to flip the table.
But so like the wyvern is the sigil of Otterland. So like maybe they existed
They had to have
before,
existed. Yeah.
but was it because they were dragons and then something with the Volg warped them to
I
wyverns?
don't
Or is
know.
it the same?
I don't know. That makes sense.
Because a
I
lot of
could
the
see
ways
that.
they're described look just like dragons.
Don't tell George R. R. Martin. He gets very fucking
It
pissed
just
off.
depends how many legs they have. So,
It depends on the legs.
yes. So I just there's so many things we can spiral and ask questions like this is real history. Like they can really give us an answer.
Like this is real. This isn't real.
What do you mean? Aelin also notes that Manon is the most beautiful person that she has ever seen.
Can I say something controversial?
Please do.
Manon is for the girls.
Okay.
I love the romances that we're going to get. Don't get me wrong, but Manon and a lead, there was a vibe there. Think about the power couple of Manon and Aelin. Or Manon and, because we're spoiler free, I'm going to say redacted, but when he's in a female form. Think about that. Or Lysandra and Redacted when she has shifted into a male form. Like, I just feel like so much was left on the cutting room floor.
There's more
We had a
options for
lot
us
of
to explore here.
possibilities.
Yeah.
And if you are interested in looking into some fanfic, I read one. It's about Aelin, Rowan, Dorian, and Manon, and it's called Nightcap by Shadow Daddy Azriel. If
Wow.
you look that up, I was like, okay.
That is a very beautiful scene, like all
Yes.
of it together. Well, unlike Kate, Aelin doesn't have time to spiral. They're here to save her bestie. But looking at the witches and wyverns, thinking about the army that the king has been building in Morath, the Vogue, all of it, she's kind of like, LOL, we're so fucked.
But Rowan reminds her and the readers that Aelin has a witch on her kill roster, Bobby Yellowlegs. So, like, you're fine. You killed one. Why wouldn't you want to face an entire army?
You can do this. We'll get you some magic. It'll be
It'll be
fine.
fine.
As the king and Dorian and their prison wagon and the Blackbeak matron and her mystery wagon arrive.
It's like, what are we on the Oregon Trail right now? What is happening?
Just
She
imagine
talks
this
about
like rickety wagon rolling up
they're
to this,
talking about painted wagons.
this big meeting. Like, that sounds goofy.
Silly.
Aelin makes Chaol promise to get Lysandra out if shit goes south, and she promises not to touch a hair on baby girl.
Speaking, he's not baby girl right now. He's baby girl.
Girl.
And this is the first time that Chaol is actually seeing the artist formerly known as Dorian.
Oh,
But who gives a shit, because we are finally at Dorian and Manon's meet cute. His sapphire eyes go right to her and they stay there.
heyo. Manon's grandmother, the matron, the high witch, bows to the king. I don't care if it's a nod. She gives him a little something.
Well, this is a woman who has not so much as nodded for another ruler, not even the other matrons. So, like, we have to do on a daily basis. Manon is filled with feminine rage and she has to swallow it. Because she's like, what the fuck? Like,
what is going on?
What are you doing?
Here? The high bitch presents Manon, the wing leader of his aerial cavalry, to the king, and she doesn't say anything because she was instructed to keep her mouth shut.
That's a little petulant. That's a little childish. Of like, I'm not talking because I was told not to talk.
But she also talks back. I'm like, that feels kind of brazen. Okay.
Well, her grandmother's annoyed, but the king is amused.
Thank God, because what if he wasn't and you're fucked?
He plans a play date between Manon and Dorian while he and the high bitch go see whatever's going on in that wagon. Manon walks up to baby girl and purrs, "Hello, princeling." And I take back what I say earlier. Manon is for the girls and the guys. Manon is for everyone, because I also love this.
Manon, I love her strength, and she's just sexy and confident.
Yes.
She could be for anybody. Meanwhile, Chaol is in the tree line putting on his grippy socks.
I mean, it's one thing hearing your BFF is possessed by an ancient demon. It's another thing seeing it. Plus, Chaol has all of this guilt over fleeing the throne room the day the collar was put on Dorian. So he's had that plausible deniability. That's not the word I'm looking for. He's had this like hope, I guess, of like maybe Aelin's wrong. Maybe when I see him, I'll see something that she missed.
Yeah.
And so now he's really he's like grasping the gravity.
There's no way to prepare yourself for the coldness. You know, you're expecting to like, oh, it's not that bad. And it really is.
But I bet he looks so good.
Oh, I bet those
evil Dorian
beautiful
smirking.
Sapphire eyes.
Ooh.
I know this is sad, but the collar, I think, is kind of sexy.
That is power bottom behavior.
Oh my God. I had a moment. Okay. Not Dorian. Chaol ends up side-eyeing Aelin like, maybe you had a point before.
She's bigger than me, because I'd be like, I told you so.
Fucking told you.
Except when we do cut to Dorian, we cut to Dorian. For the first time in this book, it is Dorian who speaks. And out of all the warnings and truths and things that he could say, he goes with Riz. "Hello, witchling. I am kicking my feet. I'm giggling. I'm crying. I'm throwing up." I love witchling and princeling, and I love this line that we get during this interaction.
I love that he like plunges in head first and he's like, I'm here.
I think it's so funny that he hasn't had an opportunity to speak, to be in control of his body. And what does he go to? Flirting.
I mean, it's so Dorian, Playboy Dorian that we knew before, though.
Yes.
Like, that is our baby girl. Like, hey, that's the problem is I'm sure that Aelin is looking at Chaol like, oh shit, did you hear that? But like, my mouth would drop. I'd be like, oh, did you hear that? I just nothing. Right. Wow. The demon has crawled inside of Dorian's mind to get away from Manon. to get away from the eyes of the Vol kings, the eyes of its masters.
And the way the demon speaks is very Gollum. Like, I guess English isn't its first language, but it's very like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's very like panicked and like, retreat, retreat, don't
Yeah.
talk to it. Don't talk to it. Like, what? The crown prince of Rizold makes up for lost time and lays it on thick for Manon.
My favorite line, maybe in the entire series, she asks if he would bleed red or black. I'll bleed whatever color you tell me to. Stop!
It is so
It's
sexy.
so sexy.
So unforgettable, so sexy. Manon asks for his name, and like Caltaine, he can't remember it at first. Then she changes the request from a question to a command, and he remembers Dorian.
Aelin is overhearing all of this, like, did he just say Dorian? But it's so brief and it's over so quickly that she writes it off. And it's also easier because mentally she's already like, I'm going to have to kill Dorian. To have to put a caveat in there would
Well,
be
it
really, if you've already had to make all the mental gymnastics of like, I'm going to have to do this.
there's still just no idea how to do it. Like even if he was in there and I don't want to kill him, what am I going to do? Because if you get close, he's going to try to kill you.
Hmm.
So it just makes things more complicated to think about right now. She's got to
But
focus.
like and I know I keep saying this, if she had seen Lysandra and she had had a collar on or a ring on, I think that she would have tried a lot harder to
Hmm.
save her than
I
she ever did with
I
Dorian.
do think the other thing that changes it with Dorian, it not an excuse, I'm not apologizing because it's a complicated situation, but Dorian already has magic that
That's true.
Aelin can't compete with. So like
Hmm.
Lysandra can't shift right now. She wouldn't be able to overpower or do anything to Aelin in the attempt to try to save her. Dorian has all kinds of magic at his
Well,
disposal, not
no,
just
wait,
what the
never
princes
mind.
have. He
Okay.
has his own magic that like she can't do anything to protect against right now. So like not that there's no excuse. She doesn't make enough effort to look into ways to save Dorian, but also there's so much more to have to combat against that I think just makes it so hard.
But if you're infected with Vogue, do you not like the general in Wendlin had magic or had darkness, right? Do they all have that? Like if Lysandra were infected, would she have access to her magic?
I think she would have access to the Vogue magic.
Okay.
I think. But also Winland magic
They
wasn't
have
gone.
magic. Yeah, okay.
So because like
But
we
you know what I'm
later
saying?
at
Like,
some point we later also see the use of Dorian's ice magic with from the fog. So like
mhm.
because he already has active magic, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's not a good reason not to look into ways to help him. She
It
just
just never really felt like it was an option for Aelin. Like she never I
yeah.
don't know.
There's really big things on her plate and she kind of can't catch a breath to like even get the ground beneath her and figure out what she's going to
But I
do.
felt like this from book 1 when she was like, "Is it gonna be Kale or Dorian? Kale or Dorian?" And then she was kinda like, "Leave me alone" to Dorian.
I know the way she handled him, poor Dorian. But Dorian is also romantic, so I feel like if
He
she
is
hadn't
such a
been
romantic, which he's like a love bomber romantic, you know?
yes, but I think if she hadn't been so, not harsh, but, like, abrupt with him,
He's
he'd have
like a
been
little
like, "So
puppy
there's a
dog.
chance?"
Yeah.
I don't know. We're spiraling on that. Aelin doesn't really have time to think too much about it. One, because there's bigger things happening right now, but
Yes.
also Dorian and the king are not her priority in this trip.
Mhm.
She's just there to get Lysandra. So the best time to get her would be
Dorian
while
is never the priority.
we have to plan for that,
Baby
Kate. I'm
girl.
sorry.
Okay.
But she's going to try to get Lysandra while the king and the matron are inside this wagon. So Aideen and Nezrin cause a distraction with the wyverns while Aelin and Rowan break into the prison wagon.
And there is no collar or ring on Lysandra, thank God. So after they put the dead guards inside the wagon and lock it, they slip back into the forest, and you're like, they did it!
They're so quick.
They're gonna get away.
The king and Dorian go one way, the witches in the other, and Manon and her grandmother are left in the clearing.
So they have front row seats to seeing the high bitch slap the shit out of Manon
Yikes.
and basically tell her what we've been saying all along. Like, do you really think that I wasn't CC'd on the emails about what's happening in Morath? And Manon tries to protest, like, how could you let them use and breed the witches like that? And earns her another strike. And when it's not a regular slap, it is a slap with iron nails
Rusty iron
by
nails.
someone that's your grandmother. Like, imagine, picture your grandmother slapping you twice.
We are not. My grandmother is a little old lady who's like, okay, doll, this is a bitchy warrior, but still very aggressive move. As Manon walks into the painted wagon to finally see what her grandmother has been making on behalf of the king, Aelin and Rowan go to grab Lysandra and Kale so they can get the fuck out of there, and they find just Lysandra.
He's going to sacrifice himself.
No, you can't.
Bitch, did you not just promise to get Lysandra out and you ditched her for Dorian at the first opportunity?
We talked about this.
Well, I understand why he did it, and there wasn't an emergency. Like, it was get Lysandra out if shit goes south. But remember all that right before this mission, it was never again. I'm never, like, I'm not going to let you down like that again.
Yeah, we got Lysandra out of the wagon. We haven't
still
left
have
the
to
premises.
get her out of here. Like,
your job isn't done.
Yes.
It's wild. Kale doesn't know if he's going to get an opening like this again.
He literally is thinking, let Aelin and the others deal with the aftermath. I'll be dead. Yeah, they will be dead too if you give away the fact that they're here in the forest. That is my biggest problem. Not only is he leave Lysandra like, okay, she was in a position where she could be left. You're about to let the king know that we're all in this forest.
Yeah, but
instead of them walking out and leaving and us going the other way, they could come after them.
It's all of that. But literally, he and Aelin were just discussing, no matter what happens, you make sure that Lysandra is out of here. Yes. Not just out of the fucking wagon. Get her out of this forest. Get her back to safety. You haven't done your first job. You just abandoned her a few feet away.
I mean, the fact that Aelin is so gracious about this later, not pissed, I would be so fucking angry.
I get that he is.
I'm not saying he's the reason for what's about to happen to someone that we love.
Yeah.
But he's not the reason.
Right. Well, and I get that he is so shook, but we talked about this probably 2 episodes ago, that he's clearly not the strategist, and this is why you're not in charge.
Ooh.
What was your plan?
You told him. That's why you're not in charge.
I wish you could see my face. Like, yeah, I said it. I said what I said.
The 3 people watching on YouTube, look at her face.
Did you see the attitude here? This is why you're not in charge. Well, Kale and his big idea breaks through the trees.
God, it's so embarrassing.
And it's not the king and Dorian that he finds, although I don't know what he thinks he's going to fucking do with that. It's the 13.
Did he go in the opposite direction? Like, how?
He took a fucking fork. Sorry, I've said a lot of fucks this episode because I'm fired up.
Kale is here because he knows the forest best, allegedly. How did this happen?
How did you miss? It's like,
how did you miss?
Left
how did you
or
mess
right?
This up?
He's like, let's not go towards the palace. Let's go the other way. Like,
and to picture him busting through, like,
like the Kool-Aid man. Like, got it, gotcha.
God.
I mean, even then, like, if you was the king and Dorian,
then
what are you gonna do? Bust out of there? Where's the element of surprise?
I'm not saying I like the king, but he has a sense of humor of where I think he would start laughing.
I mean, how could you not? You'd be like, oh, fuck it again.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Aelin, Adian, and Rowan leave Lysandra with Nezrin, and they track Kale to where he's been held by Manon, iron nails digging into his neck.
And the prison wagon is open behind them, the one with the 3 dead soldiers and no prisoner. So now you've opened up them knowing that we have Lysandra. You've put us all in fucking danger.
Thanks so much for this, Kale. Aelin has to come up with a plan, and fast. When it's clear that Manon plans to take Kale to the king, Aelin draws Goldrin and surrenders.
And surprises the hell out of Manon when she introduces herself as Aelin Galathinius. It's surprising. I guess she can feel it, though, because, like, anyone can say they're anyone, right? But I guess she can Manon, like, feel it?
I don't know why she does. She immediately takes her at her word.
Yeah. I don't believe anyone. Like, how many guys have given us fake names? I can think of a fake name that a guy gave you.
How many guys? Do you know how many names I have given them? Come on.
Yeah, you used to be Victoria.
Every time we go out, I'm Victoria.
That does not work at all. That does not fit you.
Think you? It works great when I'm out at the bars. Anyway.
But it's not just, like, Manon is very surprised, but it's not just surprise. She's like, holy shit. Just wait until Elide hears this. This is the person that Elide was, like, trying, like, her hope.
She did. But, like, as you say that, I keep rethinking the scene. As soon as she says it, she's like, yeah, I got it. Like, she believes her immediately. And I know she notes the way that Aelin is standing like a warrior, but I do wonder if she could
does have a fae male with her and, like,
well, an Adian doesn't have the ears or teeth, but he looks like one. He's the same size as
Well,
Rowan,
Annie's
so
pretty because when they're doing introductions, she's like, "Ooh, a fey male. Haven't fucked one of those lately. Ooh, he's
ooh,
pretty. Is that your brother?"
yeah. So there must like, the whole group together, something about it was different enough that she was like, "Alright."
And Kale is just standing there having to look at them. I would be, you know, when you used to get in trouble in public and like a parent would just look at you and you're like, "Fuck, I'm gonna get it later."
Not only did you fuck up, I have to save you. It's just like like we were talking about with Quicksilver, when she's looking at her brother like, "Yeah,
Yes,
I'll
he
have to
is
get you out of this
so
too."
Hayden. Yeah.
Ugh.
You know what I was thinking about with Quicksilver?
What?
How did Madra go through the Quicksilver to get to the Yaver? I don't know how to fucking say it. The Fey Kingdom. Did the Quicksilver not close after she went through, or was it left open?
Oh my god.
It might have been left open because I guess maybe once you open it, it stays open until it's closed. I don't know.
Um, yeah, that series that I read that had Quicksilver in it, like, it had to be told to sleep.
The Sword of Truth.
Yes, the Sword of Truth series. So I don't know, it was probably potentially left open, and she also probably already had her own, talisman.
Okay.
So
I
she
think someone actually DM'd me that question or commented it on YouTube, something like that. Yeah.
shoot, and I read it a few months ago, so off the top of my head, I'd have to go back and check.
Yeah.
So back to what's happening here with Aelin saving Chaol again. Aelin is using Chaol's blood that's fallen on the grass to draw word marks with the tip of her boot, just like she did at the glass castle the day of Adian's rescue. But Manon thinks she's just nervous and fidgeting.
That is a very specific fidget. That is a very, like, I just,
It's
it's
interesting
stupid.
that Manon was like, she's standing like a warrior, but she's showing her age and I don't know,
And
like
she's
lack of experience.
drawing circles and lines. You wouldn't, that's not a fidget.
I don't know. Or
How
yeah.
close would they have to be for her to have access to blood that's coming off of dripping down Kale?
Well, the toe of my foot is like a large area. It's not a small drawing. So I'm like, how
Yeah,
what does this look like?
Manon, come on.
Follow-up questions. Manon sends Chaol stumbling toward Aelin.
And the two face off, and mom and mom are fighting. You don't even know who to root for. I mean, obviously Aelin at the end of the day, but also, I don't know.
But it's like, we're in Manon's head. Aelin is not. Because Manon's like, you know what? This is going to be a whole thing. And I just got in trouble with my
She's us.
grandmother.
Like, that is exactly how I'd be like, ugh,
Turns out my whole life is a lie. And let's just not
let's
do
just not
this.
do this.
But, Aelin doesn't know you're thinking that. You guys could definitely kill us with your wyverns involved. Like, everybody's in danger. Aelin's like, I got to make sure they don't come after us.
I guess. I think it's kind of this. This part kind of confused me.
I know the scene, it just, every time I read it, I'm like, this didn't have to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But also, would Aelin always be looking over her shoulder that the fact that they took a prisoner is out there and these witches are aligned with the king and could
Yeah.
turn them in at any time? I don't like, Aelin's got to make sure either but also, like, are you guys going to kill all 13? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's your plan here? I don't know. I don't think she had time to think it through. But of course, Aelin is like, okay, I got to make sure I hold on to her attention while everybody else can escape. So she starts taunting and revealing that she's the one who killed Baba Yellowlegs. And she shows the necklace of scars that marks her as a witch killer.
But yeah, I don't know why she wouldn't just take the W and leave, but the way you explained it actually makes sense to where even if Manon, we know Manon and we're inside of her head and we know that like she just got in trouble with grandma and she just found out that her grandmother is involved with all this breeding
Hmm.
and she's just over the day and just wants to go back to Morath. So she's over, like she just wants it to be done. But Aelin has no way of knowing that this isn't like a
Well, and as I say all that,
decoy or
Aelin's
whatever,
not
like a
even
strategy.
trying to fight them. I said that, like, what's she gonna do? Kill them all? She's literally just trying to run without them, like, on their heels because the witches, even if they don't have their like any form of magic right now, are going to be as strong as the Fae because they're part
Yes.
Fae and part Vogue. So she's trying to help her people get away without
Mm-hmm.
having to look over their shoulder. Because, like, yeah, my statement from a few minutes ago doesn't make sense because they're not going to. Anyway, all that to be said, Manon, I think Manon was, like, questioning, but the wind shifted and then she could smell,
Yeah.
which I think is interesting that
Mm-hmm.
there's a smell to you if you're a witch
Once
killer.
you've killed witches, yeah.
Well, I'm like, don't all of you smell like that when you kill Krakens?
Good point.
Shouldn't
Everyone should smell like
all of you
that.
smell like witch
I
killers?
feel like Rowan's probably killed at least one witch,
Maybe it's just like an Iron Teeth witch has a specific
maybe, or
I
a
th
matron. I don't know.
because I feel like it's referenced later, and I wanna say there's a specific, like, salty iron smell to it.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
maybe it's just an iron teeth witch. But Manon's like, "Oh, yeah? Bet." And she lunges, and then she's frozen in place by those word
How
marks.
embarrassing. Can you picture her just like is she suspended in air or is she just like frozen solid?
I imagine it's like Harry Potter, like, when they do the Petrificus
Yes.
Totalis, because, like, I don't, because like, Dorian, when she froze him at the palace, he couldn't use his magic, he couldn't do anything to lash
Mhm.
out, he was just stuck there for a second.
How like that for a second, that's embarrassing.
Nobody get a picture of my face right now.
Take a picture. Aelin picks up Goldrin and they run towards the temple, the one you have to cross rickety ass bridges over a ravine to reach.
I love that Adian's like, "Secure," and, like, takes off, and it's, like, barely holding on, like,
And
"Okay."
I like with his power bottom sprinting across, I just picture it like swaying
You know those are some
chaotically.
thick, muscular
Oh,
thighs. That
yeah.
bridge is like, "I
And
can't
he's
hold
like, "We're
on."
good," and he just takes off. All you see is his ass and the bottom of his feet as he runs.
The visual, I'm
Let's
so
go.
I'm serious right now. Okay. As Rowan is running across, Manon flings herself into the air and lands a third of the way down the bridge.
That's badass.
Yeah,
That's like a badass
we are
visual.
booked. Astrid shoots an arrow at Aelin and she twists to avoid it, only to find a second arrow coming where she moved. But Rowan shoves her out of the way and it hits him in the shoulder, an inch from his heart.
Aelin wraps an arm around Rowan and they keep running as Adian is raining arrows down on the witches, so he's keeping them at the tree line on the other side of the bridge.
I mean, thank God. That's terrifying. Aelin slips into that killing calm as they reach the second bridge, and she uses the blood oath to order Rowan to keep running.
Ooh, he doesn't love that.
He didn't like that, but she's like, glad to see it still works without my magic. She ducks right as Manon's sword swipes for her head and runs, but not toward the second bridge, back to the first one on the witch's side.
Never let him know your next move. She cuts the chains of the first bridge, cutting the 13 off, and Aelin Galathinius and Manon Blackbeak face each other.
Woo!
My question to you is, if Aelin and Manon were in a cage match, no weapons, no nails, no magic, who do you got?
Mm,
Just, I'm talking like just fighting. There's no magic. There's like nothing.
probably, I need to see them next to each other. Who's bigger?
I mean, they're not real, so I don't know how to.
Okay, well, you're asking me a very serious question that
What
I
does
have
that
to
have to do with
analyze.
anything? It's fighting.
Because they got big old muscles. Who's stronger here? Like
Yeah, but
like,
we learn the way that Aelin fights. She's like tricksy.
yes, but Manon has over a century of fighting and warring and
Yeah, but
being
Aelin fights
ruthless.
dirty.
Okay, Manon is a witch. She's cunning. So
Okay, well, Aelin is a trained assassin. Do you think that Manon can slither around with the Mute Master?
I don't know.
That's exactly.
I've
She's about to start slithering around on the ground.
That's the thing is like, kind of, I would want to choose Manon, but Aelin always has like 10 steps ahead that like Manon, I think, is a little too confident in her strength and prowess. And so she's not being cunning enough.
You know what? I'm going to say Aelin, just based on vibes.
I was thinking Manon, but now as we've talked about it, like, just because like even like as they start this battle, like Manon's coming for her and Aelin's already got a trick planned out in her head. She's already doing something tricksy to mess her up, and Manon takes a minute to catch on.
Yeah.
Bless her. As Aelin is literally slamming her head against the stones, Manon goes to whistle, not to order Astrid to shoot Aelin, but to stop her from interfering.
And when she doesn't get the second whistle out fast enough and Astrid does shoot, Manon actually twists to keep it from hitting Aelin in the back and says, "She's mine" to the 13. And like, I'd watch.
That was also like, thank you for saving me. Like,
well, it was like, there's a mutual respect between them of like, I'm not going to let someone kill you by shooting you in the back. You're going to see me coming, you know?
It's almost like predator instincts too. Like, this is
like
my
alien.
kill
They're
also.
Alien versus Predator. They're
Alien.
King Kong versus Godzilla.
God.
They are Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson.
That's a match to watch. Aelin also says samesies and orders Adian not to interfere.
Did you ever watch the most recent King Kong where he had like, why'd they give him such a dumpy? He had the biggest, thickest ass.
With Adrian Brody and Jack Black and
no, this one? God, you're so far behind. That was like 20 years ago. I'm talking about
it was a good one
with the guy from Friday Night Lights and
no.
Oh my God,
how many times can I watch the same storyline?
I mean, it's a little bit different. It's a little different.
Okay. No, I missed it.
Oh my god, they gave him, like, the juiciest ass.
Are we talking about King Kong?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, when
Wait,
we
I'll
say
show you,
him,
and he's never wearing pants, obviously.
obviously, they don't have any size.
They don't. Sorry, okay. But like I was saying, there's begrudging respect on both sides, and they're both landing blows because they're pretty well matched until Aelin tricks Manon into running straight into a column, embarrassing, and brings the roof down on top of her.
So, like, pause as I'm rethinking this cage match because, like, Aelin is real fired up because they're like in Rowan's blood, so it's like igniting a fire in her. But if she
Yeah.
didn't have that to push her, would she still be able to beat Manon? Because eventually she starts like tricking her into running into the columns.
Yeah.
But like, if that wasn't an option and they're just in a cage, could she still beat her?
I think she could because I think that Aelin is one of those people that has a lot to fight for.
Mm-hmm.
She's always fighting for people that she loves, even if it's like actually like Rowan and Adian and like on a lesser level Kaol. But Manon, and even if it's like fighting for the people of Terrasen,
Mm-hmm.
and Manon loves the 13, but she's kind of become disillusioned with the witches.
Mm-hmm. You know what?
So I feel like Aelin has that fire of she protect.
As I say all that, Manon has been the top predator almost her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there's a moment where Manon can fight and she will fight, but there's no threat hanging over her head. Like,
Yeah.
not just that she doesn't have something to fight for, she's not been much of the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
So she's got a confidence that, like, may not push her.
She's underestimating Aelin for sure. Like from the
Yeah.
moment of thinking she's fidgeting when she was literally making word marks, you know?
Yeah, well, and Aylin's about to bring this whole bitch down, running through the columns, and Manon's like, "Don't run from me, you coward."
Yeah.
She's not catching on just yet.
So as she's running for the second bridge and the whole island is beginning to collapse, Aelin hears Astrid scream. And it's like when Manon heard the blue blood matron scream as Petra and Keely were falling. Like there's just that, I guess, I don't, it's
Like
not
a
just
soul.
love.
It's
But
almost
it's
like a
like,
soul scream. It's
yeah,
gut wrenching.
it's like it's coming from this place of love that if you don't know, we know the witches. Aelin doesn't know the witches. You wouldn't think they were even capable of that.
You know what I just got a visual of? I'm sorry I
What?
keep like totally derailing the conversation.
I've had too much wild cherry Pepsi.
I know. I
I'm all
drank a
over the place.
Celsius because I was like, gotta pump up, and
All
I'm
right, well,
like,
you're gonna have a heart attack. I did buy some of
I do sound like
that.
I'm cracked out. I'm sorry for the speed talking.
What did
at
I
some
buy?
points. You bought the Alani stuff.
Yeah, those make me feel like I'm having a heart attack.
Well, I don't feel like that with this, but I do notice that I am very chipper, and I apologize that I'm speaking so quickly. But this scene also, like as we were talking about Soul Scream, there is a scene in Grey's Anatomy because I refer to it all the time.
Here we fucking go.
You know what? Fuck off.
That is
Everybody's listening.
That is your comfort show. Like when I tell you,
But only like seasons
you
1 through
know
6.
what she's going through when you know what episode of Grey's Anatomy she's watching. Like if it's like the shooter in the hospital
Can
episode,
I tell you
or
that
her
I
drowning episode.
rewatched some of that last night, actually.
Yep.
It's just like one of the background shows. It depends on my mood, but like Grey's Anatomy, because like the music is so nostalgic.
It is.
Like,
It's like Snow Patrol.
when I was in college, like I'm like, oh my God, this was all the music. Anyway, there's a scene after Derek is shot where Meredith.
I knew which episode.
No, you fucking didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Okay.
But Meredith just starts screaming, like with her whole, like, it's not, because people will cry on TV shows. Like she's actually like so in it and sobbing that I was like, made me sob because it was so intense.
I'm too embarrassed to scream out loud. I don't think I would ever, even if you were like shot in front of me, I probably wouldn't scream because like I would give myself the ick.
Okay. Number one, you know how like when you're a child and like everybody practices screaming?
No, what?
What?
I mean,
oh God, that was so fun because some people could like shriek and like, you run around like scream.
I
like
want to. I don't remember. I don't think if I've ever actually really screamed, but I kind of want to.
Oh well, I was just going to share with you that I can't. My voice.
You have a deep voice.
My voice was actually deeper as a child. So it was kind of like it was awful. And I was like,
wait, after we're done, we have to scream for each other. And I want to see, I want each of us to sprint too. I want to see how we run and I want to see how we scream.
I'm already fucking turning red. Like I would be so embarrassed because it's like, even when we're in high school and you're watching horror movies and like the heroines are like running and screaming, I'm like, they would be laughing at me because I'm like, like it's It's so
No,
ridiculous.
I will never scream. I'll just get murdered in
You
silence.
probably have to turn the volume down on the mic. I just did that into the mic without thinking. Sorry.
No, I don't. I'm
Sorry.
gonna have to. You know what? Tonight when I'm alone, I'm gonna try to scream like
Okay.
a
When
real.
you're alone, your neighbors gonna be like, something fucking weird in that house.
My neighbors probably already think that.
You got some weird neighbors. It's probably okay.
I have you. You want to hear a weird neighbor story? Tangent. So
Maybe.
you know this.
Is this the
They're
cult
not
one?
there anymore. They were renters next to us, and it was during True Detective season 1. That I remember that
I know
because
exactly where this is going.
we came home one night and there was furniture in the trees. For not like it had been tossed of like there
As
was a
one does.
wild party. There was placed furniture in the trees and it was night and I'd been watching True Detective. I was so fucking freaked out.
Yeah.
And then we heard chanting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not making this up. I swear on this is Bible. We heard chanting and all the lights were off. It looked like nobody was home, but we could hear chanting and the furniture was I still don't know. I mean, like nothing happened, but to this day I have no idea what that was.
That's immediate, like all the superstitions we've ever had in the South. Like you have to go inside, light all the candles, do all the
Yes.
things to protect yourself. Like what is happening
Well,
with
and
you
I
weirdos?
was raised by my grandmother in Alabama and she was very superstitious. Like she was religious, but she was also very superstitious.
Mm-hmm.
And it was yeah, there are things that like I am like, "Oh, that's stupid," but in the moment I'll do some things that I'm like, I guess I'm no better.
It's just like ingrained in you at this point.
Yeah.
You do it before your logical thought catches up to what you're doing.
Like whenever I see a black cat, I go home and I start over. I start the journey over from wherever I'm coming from, which is so dumb.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah. So
How did
I still don't know what that was with the neighbors, why they were chanting. Cuz like if I love a good group activity and
if you're invited,
they never invited me to anything and I mean like
as long as your chanting doesn't involve me or my pets or my house, okay, whatever.
yeah.
Like just keep it to yourself.
I mean, why didn't they invite me? I feel like I'm pretty
You would have looked great in a
approachable.
hood. I think I've seen you in a
Yeah.
hood before.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. They
Hmm.
missed an opportunity. Well, Aelin is not only hearing this
Back
scream.
it's so abrupt and we're talking then we're like
I
so
don't know.
Aelin.
I don't know how to circle us back because I forgot
Yeah,
how we
we're not
got
good
here.
at segues.
So that's it. It is what it is. But this is how our normal conversations run as well.
Yes.
Aelin also feels a tug in her gut. So not only has she heard Astrid scream, it's like she can feel a thread in the world, kind of like
Mhm.
she did when she was talking about with Irene in Assassin's Blade.
Mhm.
And she ended up giving her the money to get to the Torres Esme. So there's some kind of thread, a current running between her and someone else. And she's like, wait, I need to pay attention to this.
And this time it's tugging her toward Manon, toward her enemy, a monster, but she thinks perhaps monsters need to look out for each other every now and then.
Heyo.
Kale,
God.
calling her a monster.
Eat your words, Kale. Adian yells at her to run, and she does. She runs for Manon.
And the sunlight is intensifying, like Mala herself is holding the island up.
I'm just
I love that. Like, I can't think of what, like, I have a mental image with the island shaking like it's coming down from like a movie or something. And I can't think of
oh
what
my
it
God, me
is.
too. I can see it. It's a man running and jumping over stones as something is crumbling under him.
And
What is
it's
that
like,
from?
it's almost like it's floating. Is it Mario?
What?
No,
Mario.
it's like a floating. Oh God! And it's like I don't know.
Well, we're having the same psychic like acid trip.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the
What is
visual.
that?
I want to say it's the mummy. It's not the mummy. There is something, and you guys probably know exactly what we're talking about. And
You're
I
on the
can't.
wrong side of the bridge.
Wrong side of the river. Yeah, I can't remember what this is, but I'm seeing it too. Like literally just barely. Oh, well, I'm thinking of National Treasure at one
I
point
knew
too.
you were. I'm not thinking of that, but I had a feeling you were thinking of that.
I think it's the second one where they're on that like. Anyway, he's running before something collapses under them.
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
got the visual. I'm here for it. Aelin hooks an arm under Manon's shoulders and pulls her up as the rock sways from one side to the other, saying, "If I die because of you, I'll beat the shit out of you in hell."
They race across the second bridge, and just as the island is crumbling beneath them, Aelin jumps, gripping Manon by her red cloak, the one given to her by the Kraken Witch, the one who asked if she believed monsters were born or made. Side thought about the red cloak: when we met Dorian, He was wearing a red cloak and he had the royal seal of a wyvern on his tunic. Was it a little
Ooh.
bit of foreshadowing about Manon?
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, could Sarah really have thought that far out?
Well, it's also potentially the colors of Otterlin and
I mean, it is. The
the
wyvern
sigil.
is, but it is also Manon.
There is a link here, whatever it means. Manon passes out, and when she wakes, the Queen of Terrasen, the enemy who saved her life, is gone. She owes a life debt, and she just learned how thoroughly fucked they all are after seeing what was inside that Oregon Trail wagon.
Nesrin removes the arrow from Rowan's shoulder, and Adian chews some herbs and shoves them into the open wound. They're close to Nesrin's family's country house, and the man who runs it is married to a midwife. Not a healer, but better than Adian's spit unless it's going into Rowan's mouth or mine. Mm.
Wow, that went places. At least someone is happy to see them. A noticeably bigger Fleetfoot races across the high grass and gives Aelin lots of kisses.
Did you at any point wonder if Fleetfoot was a shifter stuck in their animal form? Or if, like, Fleetfoot's parents or parent was maybe a shifter? Because they just keep pointing out that every time she sees her, she's bigger. You know what I'm saying? She's bigger than other dogs, too, right?
Yeah. I hadn't considered it because they saw Fleetfoot born, and I have no idea if shifters in their animal forms will birth other shifters or fae as the animal. I don't know.
That brings me to my next question.
Okay,
Do shifters who are stuck in animal forms fuck other animals? Like
probably.
if you've ugh. Like if you're a dog who's been stuck as a dog for 10 years, are you fucking dogs?
Okay, here's the thing. Without like giving away spoilers that we all know are probably coming, somebody that we know at some point will shift into an animal, and they say things about letting the animal take over or let the animal instincts take over. And I wonder after a decade if at some point the fae that are in there, like the animal form, does it have full control? Like, are you a conscience? Are you conscious?
Are you
That's
having a stroke?
I was like, "Wait, that doesn't make sense." Are you fully conscious while everything is I mean, you are, but, like, eventually, do you get depressed and, like, I don't know, kinda like Dorian, like, just let the animal take over and you stop thinking?
That
Like,
would mean, so you're saying that Rowan fucked birds.
whoa, Rowan could easily shift back. After a
Yeah, but remember when he was really sad and he was a bird for a long time and he was fucking other people? Was
okay,
he fucking birds?
you know what? You're right, that decade where he, like, I don't think really
Yeah.
shifted, I don't have any idea. I would say I would hope not, but also, like, if they give up and let the animal side take over, are they thinking anymore? Like, is it just happening by animal instinct? Like, I don't know.
Well, what series have we read where it's more like the animal is separate from you, but you like share a body and you go back and forth? You know what I'm talking
I
about?
mean, several series, but also, like, even when we were talking about Power of 5,
Maybe that was it.
well, I mean, like, there's so many series, though, like, where we have shifters and, like especially with there's, like, actual, like, wolf shifters, like, they talk to their wolves, like, I don't know. There's
Hmm.
so many different aspects, but, if you think about it, Aylin's animal form was her human form, so with Kale, it was bestiality?
That's a good point. You make a point.
It is a point.
Fleetfoot escorts them to the house, like, follow me, where the midwife, Marta, cleans and bandages Rowan's wounds. Covered in cuts and dried blood, Aelin stays at Rowan's side until Marta's like, you can either go take a horse bath or you can sleep with the pigs.
I am proud of Marta
Yeah,
because
that would have been intimidating.
Aylin looks terrifying, and she's, like, watching very closely everything that Marta was doing with Rowan's wounds. So to, like, be able to, like, "Look, you need to clean up."
That's like when you were in the hospital and we were like looking through your chart, just like, I don't know what we thought we were going to add, but we were like,
"Oh,
hmm.
were you? Helpful. Thanks." But still, like, just keeping an eye on things,
Yeah.
overseeing.
Mm-hmm.
Kale follows Aelin out to apologize. Seeing Dorian, he finally got it. He finally understood, and he wanted to do it himself.
And Aelin isn't angry. She gets it. I would get her being angry, but this is, I guess, like a. Aelin, even 10 chapters ago, probably would have handled this differently,
Mhm.
but she's just seen Rowan take an arrow, and it's probably put some things into perspective.
Yeah.
And she also, like, the same with Lysandra, is she was so worried about Lysandra having a collar or a ring. I think that she now has a little more perspective of how Chaol feels about having to kill Dorian, because she would have done the same if it had been Rowan with the collar around his neck.
Well, and I think that she has unfortunately had enough experience of gut-wrenching things happen and you just react. So I
Yeah.
think that she can understand, like, she's not happy about it, and she's probably so emotionally exhausted from the day they've had that
She's
she's
yeah,
like,
she's
"It's
just
fine."
exhausted.
But she can also it's growth for her too. This is like a maturity and an emotional growth that she even though she's probably upset, she can see his side and be the bigger person and say, "It's okay."
Mhm.
You know, "I do
Now
understand."
me, I would have had some things to say.
After calling me a monster, I got a lot of follow-up
Yeah.
comments, but now's
I
not the
would have been
time.
like, "Hey, quick question. How the fuck did you go in the opposite direction you meant to?
Yeah,
What
side note,
happened?
weren't you leading us to the spot?
You're literally Mr. Oakwald Forest. I come here to hunt all the time. How did you go in the wrong
He's the
direction?"
one that told them where to go to, like, wait for the witches, so, like, how did you miss that? Follow-up questions. Aelin promises she and Chaol will do this together. They'll free magic, then they'll go into the glass castle, and they'll end it together.
And this is the first time I think Chaol really sees her. Like, he doesn't see Selena the assassin, not whatever he was projecting onto her when they were together, not Aelin the monster. Like, he's seeing the Queen of Terrasen.
Yeah. The next morning, they slip out of the country home and make their way back to Rifthold one last time.
But back in Oakwald Forest, Manon and Abraxos slam down in front of the king and Dorian. She tells the king the witches were attacked by rebels, but she slaughtered them all. She doesn't say who those rebels were, and she says that they're dead now. Just because of the life debt. It's not because she cares. It's not because she has a heart or a conscience. Disgusting. She's just like, this is just because of the debt.
I do wonder also if she didn't show up at Morath with the prisoner, if they'd be like, "Where is she?"
Yeah.
It's also like, "Oh, yeah, they took the prisoner,
Everyone's
but
dead.
everybody's dead." So she's
And
all
also,
dead.
they y'all
Sorry.
didn't seem to notice you were missing 3 guards, so that's on you.
You guys are not taking roll. Weird. Manon steps closer to Dorian and seeing his sapphire eyes looking back, she suggests the king send him to Morath.
The king is amused until she asks about the mirrors her grandmother made.
I mean, she asks about this out in the open for any spies to be listening, and he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Inside the wagon was a replica of.
Well, I also, sorry, not
Okay,
to interrupt.
it's okay.
I wonder if he knew that, because after the king left, the high bitch was like, well, I guess you can go in and see what all the fuss is about. I wonder if the king was like, she let you see what was in there? You know, like, I wonder if it was
I,
supposed to be secret.
I don't know. I also, yeah, I wonder if the king even cares. Maybe he assumed that Manon would find out anyway. He just didn't want her
I
in
mean,
there
she
talking
is
with the adults.
like under his, like, a leader of one of his legions or
She's
whatever. So,
basically a general. That's
yeah.
what the wing leader is. She's the general of the aerial legion. So I don't know. Combination of he's like, this is not the time.
Yeah.
Inside the wagon was a replica, a fraction of the size of what she saw in the plans on the wall. Giant transportable towers, 100 feet high, their insides lined with the sacred mirrors of the ancients.
Mirrors to amplify and aim power like Kaltain's shadow fire. So, yeah, they're fucked.
God, yeah, their enemies are really fucked.
Yeah.
Back in Morath, the supply wagon Elide plans to escape on finally arrives 3 days late. She runs up to Manon's room to grab her go bag, and she's like, God, I should have kept this downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, sitting on the edge of the bed is Vernon.
Elide allying with the witches was the confirmation that Vernon needed, because not only does she have witch blood, which is now confirmed, but her family line has its own magic. We have some questions about that we're about to ask.
Mm-hmm.
He throws her in a dungeon cell right as Manon and the 13 return to Morath. So you're like, yay, they're going to immediately get her out.
Yeah, God, really hoping. Yeah, without
What
like
magic?
without giving spoilers, we're gonna have to ask this question further as the story progresses and in the next book because it's not discussed what Cal Locken's magic is, and when the towers come down and magic returns, do we hear what it is that Elite is able to do? Is it something specific?
I don't remember.
I know, and I don't want to give spoilers for those that have never read the series, but I need to know more about this allegedly very powerful magic that they have. Like, what is it? What
Mm-hmm.
can you do? Manon is immediately summoned by the Duke once they get back to Morath, who shows her a file of paperwork and reports There are reports on Eelway, Finharrow, the Red Desert, Winland, and Terracin.
According to the reports, Aelin Galathynius appeared in Wendland and killed 4 Valg princes using fire magic.
Obviously not a shock that Aelin is alive, but there's magic in Winland?
And Manon is pretty fucking sure that this thick fuck in front of her and the king are the reason why magic is gone here. The report also has info on Adian, Ren, even Kale has a very thin file, mostly about how much he loves Dorian. It's just like it's just like Dorian plus Kale inside of a heart. That's what his file is. But it gives context to why Kale was trying to kill Dorian. They weren't there to spy. They were there to save Lysandra and to save Dorian by killing him. So Manon is putting all of these pieces together because she hasn't read the books like we do. It's so crazy how all these two sides have no idea what the other is doing.
I mean, all these big important names, and they were all just in front of her together in the
Mm-hmm.
forest. So it's like she's drawing these conclusions, and she realizes that they don't know what Manon knows, that the crown prince of Rizold is still very much in there.
Manon and Astrid fly away from Morath, and Astrid finally tells Manon what happened to her, what Manon's grandmother did to her.
It's
And
why
this is always a hard read for me.
I know, and I'm not ashamed to say that I also cried this morning when re-listening because it's so brutal and it's so sad. It's why Asterin is so triggered by everything that's happening at Morath.
When Astrid was 28, over 80 years ago, she hit a storm and fell from her broom. You know what was that story in Crescent City of the witch who fell and then the man who fell in love with her that um Lydia tells
Oh
what's
my
his name?
god.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
It's kind of like
because she was
this.
considered a monster, but
Yeah,
then
but
oh
he fell in
shoot.
love with her.
Yeah, and
It
so
was when they
then
were meeting. It was Agent Day and Night when they were meeting. She was like telling him the story. Anyway, sorry.
yeah.
This story reminds me of that story.
Yeah.
Astrid's arm was broken in 2 places, her ankle was twisted, and her broom was shattered.
She woke in a human man's cabin. She'd have killed him if she had the strength, but she was in and out of
She was
consciousness.
like, I'll kill him later.
Give me a minute. He fed and took care of her as she healed.
She was there for 5 months before she was ordered to return to Blackbeak Keep, but she told him that she would come back as soon as she could. She was 1 month pregnant when she arrived, and when she couldn't hide it anymore, she told Manon's grandmother, who immediately started planning baby shower games because it is a huge positive to be it's like really difficult to get pregnant as a witch, correct?
Yeah, so it's a huge positive, but it's interesting that it was still kept from Manon.
I know.
Because, like, it's celebrated and she's protected, but she's also like Rapunzel up in a
Well,
tower.
unless the matron had plans for this baby, because like I wonder if this baby was actually Astra never. We'll get there, but Astra never sees it. What if? I mean, we don't know what was done with that baby.
Um,
Like I don't know. I'm gonna get there. I have a wild fucking theory.
wasn't the baby burned in front of her?
I don't think she never got to see it. I didn't think
I think she didn't get to hold it, but I'd have to go back and reread to confirm.
that
Aster
really destroys my theory. I haven't even got to say
Maybe I'm
yet. So let's
completely
just
wrong. I'll give you a
pump the
minute.
brakes.
Asterin was put on bed rest, and Manon even visited, but her grandmother didn't tell her that Asterin was there.
Astron's witchling would carry the matron's bloodline, so it's a very big deal. But what Astron planned to do in the moment that she recovered from the birth, she was going to take the baby to her father for all 3 of them to live a quiet life in the cabin. This does make me want to cry.
I bet that the matron wanted to inspect the baby and make sure it was worth announcing that it was part of her bloodline. I bet it was
Yeah,
nothing to protect it because I'm like, why would she still lock her up if this is all something
no, it
celebrated?
definitely was something selfish,
She's definitely,
nefarious.
and I wonder, how they talk about the dark eyes with the gold flecks being celebrated. I wonder if she didn't have the blue bloods or the blackbeak eyes, if she
Hmm.
would still discard the baby.
It's
That
possible.
matron is
She's
brutal.
evil enough.
Unfortunately, the baby was stillborn, and Manon's grandmother beat Asterin for
God,
it.
can you
Like,
imagine?
she's already probably hemorrhaging. Like, everything is
Because
awful.
those babies tear their. I mean, this. I don't know how it would work with
You know,
stillborn, but
and I said this before, and I can't remember how true it is when we talk about the witchlings tearing their way out. I don't know if it's like truly tearing or just,
I'm picturing like the movie Alien
well, there's another
ripping out,
series that I think they talked about the babies like fighting their way out too. So, like, to an extent, are
or
they
like
actually,
Bella when she was pregnant.
yeah, those actually have to. was Twilight's real. But, like, because like, her placenta in Twilight was, like, stone, so, like, they have to fight their way through, but, like,
Mhm.
I don't know. So, all that to be said, Astrid is in horrible condition already. She's already mourning this baby that she's not allowed to even hold, and her grandmother beats her. Potentially wouldn't even let her see the baby before it was burned.
Manon falls to her knees when she sees what her grandmother branded on Astrid's stomach, unclean. Moore's situation in Akatar has always reminded me of this because she
Mhm.
was dumped with a note nailed to her stomach. And my crack theory is if Moore were either Astrid's child or a descendant of Astrid. And I think it's more of a possibility that Moore is a witch. Her
Mhm.
nails are described as iron at one point. She's Reese's last resort. So even when Az and Cassian fall, there's something Moore can do that you think would end a war.
Yeah,
And we
which
know we haven't talked about what the witches are capable of yet,
Mhm.
like what their final act can be is more capable of that. And her signature color is red.
Oh,
there's
yeah.
more to this that we'll get to when we learn more about the witches. But I think there's if I were putting my money on someone to be a witch, it would probably be more.
Look, even if she saw the baby allegedly put into the fire, which I can't remember now as I'm thinking about the very detailed nuances of the sentence, even if she did, that doesn't mean that something couldn't have happened to transport her somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because like, I definitely think that Moore is a witch. There's
Yeah, I
so
do
many things
too.
pointing towards it. Even when you like reading through ACOTAR and they talk about her main power is like the power of truth. And
Which
I'm
we
like,
have no idea what that
what's that got
means.
to do with a war? You
And
know?
there's like the Morrigan were the three sisters and the three-faced goddess. Like
The
there's a lot
Morrigan
more to this.
was a witch. Yeah. She was a
Mm-hmm.
very powerful witch. So I don't know.
And they were in the Tuatha, what
I'm
is
not
it?
sure if I think it's Tua De Danann.
Tuatha, yeah. Which is a lot like Danon, Rune. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
There's a lot of connections. Sorrel begged for Astrid.
Sorrel.
Sorrel, is that sorry, that was me.
You say it like your sister.
I don't know how else to say it. Sorrel, I'm trying not to be aggressive. Sorrel begged for Astrid, and Manon's grandmother snapped her arm for it.
Jesus.
She threw Astrid into the snow, and Sorrel found her.
Okay, you're being like Manon when she's like, I can't talk because I was told not to talk.
Here's how I say it, Sorrel.
Okay.
It's
Sorrel.
aggressive. Sorrel found her, and Sorrel and Vesta took not Manon, sorry, Astrid. See, they took Astrid to Vesta's Eyrie, and they took care of her.
Astrid couldn't get out of bed for months, but one day she woke up and decided to fight. A month later, she walked back into the keep with 3 Kraken hearts, which is impressive to the Iron Teeth, but also like not great overall. We probably shouldn't be celebrating this.
Yeah, not great, but Astrid definitely kinda, like, just turned hard from there.
Mm-hmm.
She never went back to the hunter, and the man never
This is
married.
the part that makes me want to cry.
Stop.
For a
She
man?
for a man. She flew over the cabin every few years, and she would see him sitting on the front porch like he was waiting for someone.
This is very fairy tale because in real life, he would have had 3 wives.
Let's just leave it fairy tale then.
After Manon says they need to proceed with caution, like they need to proceed carefully, her newly reinstated second asks what exactly she's planning. Something very stupid, I think.
Meanwhile, our dream gangbang has arrived back in Rifthold.
I guess we aren't concerned about Arabin telling the king where the warehouse is anymore because the whole thing was like, we got to go. Like, as soon as Lysandra got taken, they were like, what else did he tell the king? We got to get out of here. But now they just go right back to the warehouse.
Look, they've had enough time. If it wasn't going to happen in the past day, because it was literally like, what, 2 days?
Are we worried about Lorcan? Where is he? Is he still running around?
Why did Arabin specifically single out Lysandra to take down
Why
and
was
not
he
reveal
sleeping?
everything with Aelin?
Why was he sleeping beside a woman that he didn't trust? There was collusion with Aelin,
And the knife
and
was just under
the
her
knife was
pillow.
under. Yeah, I don't know. Make it make sense.
Mm, lot of
Mm.
follow-up concerns there. When Rowan wakes, Aelin and Aedion are sitting on the bed talking about the plan to free magic and kill Dorian during the solstice in 6
The
days.
way she's able to just talk. Sorry, the way she's able to just talk about killing Dorian is very detached. I don't like it.
I think she has to be, though, because she doesn't know,
I know.
aside from watching, like, the other princes with her fire that she's like, okay, the fire burns. Like she's kind of out of other options that she knows of.
It's just the difference in when she was talking about saving Lysandra, like even if she has a ring or collar, like nobody makes that call except for me. But with Dorian, it's like, all right, so we got to kill Dorian.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like it.
I don't know.
I won't. I promise I won't say it every time.
I don't have a good answer for you. I'm trying to. I'm being an Aelin apologist because I'm like maybe there's just I don't know because she's so thorough in thinking through all potential options for most things that
Mhm.
it seems kind of surprising. But Adian asks, "What So you're what? Just going to ask Rest and Brullo to leave a back door open for
Which, by the
you?"
way, anybody checked in with them lately? Why weren't they just in the woods now?
A couple of things here. Aelin's like, "No, you idiot! I'm going to walk through the front door."
Uh,
Okay.
Rowan is struggling without his magic to heal him, so much so that he's like, humans are pretty fucking remarkable that they have to live like this all the time. What a
Thank you.
backhanded compliment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then when he thanks Adian, Adian says, anytime, dad. I mean, brother.
Rowan asks why Aelin saved Manon.
Because Astrid screamed Manon's name the way that Aelin screamed Rowan's. But how does Aelin know Astrid's name for this conversation? When she was talking about the golden haired witch screaming Manon's name, now she knows who she is. When would she have
Yeah, we
learned that
had a
and
whole
where?
spiral on this before we started recording because
This is the dumb shit that we get stuck on.
but like again, in the scene as it's happening, she says the golden-haired witch is screaming. She doesn't say Astrid's name. At no point does Manon say Astrid's name. Nobody has actually said Astrid or Manon's name, so we're calling her Manon, but Aelin doesn't know her fucking name. She doesn't know who she is other than Wing Leader. Like, this is the first time they've all seen
Explain
each
yourself,
other.
Sarah.
How do you know this?
Just kidding. She's created an entire world and book series, and I'm like, explain yourself.
I know there's a real
for
moment.
this one.
How do we miss
moment.
this? But also, again, we have questions. Did we miss something?
Maybe.
Maybe. Lysandra is still shocked that anyone, let alone everyone, came for her. Also makes me want to cry. Other than Sam and Wesley, no one has ever cared what happened to her, dismissing her as just another whore.
Aelin hands her a piece of paper that says her and Evangeline's debts have been paid in full and they are eligible to receive the Mark of Freedom, which I'm so glad this happened. Not like it's for obvious reasons, but can you imagine if Lysandra had helped Aelin get all this money, leading to her own debt being increased, and Aelin had just like fucked off? Like, was Aelin's plan, you think, always to free Lysandra and Evangeline, or did she just work that in after seeing that their debt had been increased?
Ooh.
She's like, surely she always planned that. That would be so fucked up if she didn't.
I don't think she literally just risked her life and the life of her kingdom, the future of her kingdom, to go save Lysandra.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like she probably would have always found a way
Yeah.
to get her out of there. It just
I
it's going to take time.
Too.
Manon stays with Astrid in the mountains all day and night, her head clearer than it's been in months. Even so, something is bothering her, a loose thread in the loom of the three-faced goddess.
Like every time I leave my house, I feel the loose thread of my curling iron is still plugged in.
Did I lock the door? Yeah.
Manon and Astrid stop by Morath to get supplies and follow that thread all the way to Rifthold.
While Elite is on ice in the dungeon.
Elite is assuming that they've all forgotten about her, and they kind of have.
No.
But in their defense, a lot has happened. But it's triggering for Elite, who hasn't even been an afterthought her whole life, because afterthought implies some thought. So she's not surprised, but it hurts because she thought that she had finally found her people. She thought she had like found her coven. So it's harder when you have no one. It's easier but then she thought that she had the 13, and now she thinks, well, they don't give a shit about me either. It's just really sad.
I know, and it's not okay, but some of the times that Elite spirals, it's a little unfair because she knew that Manon and the 13 were leaving the keep to go do something for the king. But
they are back.
Even if they were back, do they see her every day? Because if they don't, why would they suddenly...
I mean, Manon, she sleeps on Manon's floor, but Manon, obviously, even if the 13 are back, she's not back.
Manon also thinks that she is scary enough and has enough say that nobody would cross her. Nobody would dare go against somebody under her protection. Not Vernon. He would never. But because of that, I think that Manon feels no need to go look for her because it should be secure. So, but Elite immediately is like, "Nobody came to save me," which definitely sucks, but it's not because nobody thought of her, but she kind of I mean, she's had a rough life, so I don't mean to, like,
But it
pick on
is
her for these
very
thoughts.
like, well, a fucking course. I knew it. No one ever cares about me.
It's a little Eeyore.
Ooh, yeah.
I know, but it is she has had a very rough life, so,
Mhm.
like, it is sad that bad things seem to
It
continue to
sucks when
happen to her.
it sucks when people prove you right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and even if, like, Manon's not directly proving her right, situations have occurred that it seems kind of that way
Yeah.
anyway. That's where we're gonna pick up next week. Happy news.
We always end at the most depressing parts.
I mean, it's like, almost like if we go too far, then we have a whole 'nother we can't just stop because
I
there's a
know
whole
it's like I
'nother
try to do it in chunks
scene.
of like, but yeah, that's
All the
towards the end though, so much is gonna happen.
I know, and there's so much to get into, and we clearly spiral on some of these notes, so we've taken our time discussing the spirals.
There's the huge world building elements, and then there's the dumb little shit that we spiral about.
I mean, we had several of those, so if anybody has some answers or some details we missed, we would love to hear your even if they're just theories, we'd love to hear it.
Oh, we love
We
theories.
clearly would love to spiral on
I
them.
love theories that are just based on vibes, no thought.
Yes, and I follow you. As soon as you start saying something, I'm like, "Yeah, you
Oh,
know what
I'll believe
else?"
anything. Like I was thinking,
You take it all as
is
canon.
Tamlin a shifter? What if he's related to these people?
You know,
Can Tamlin shift into anything, or can he just shift into his beast mode?
technically, he should be able to because that's where Feyre gets the magic from is
Mhm.
Tamlin, and she can create wings and everything else, so, like, he should be able to shift into anything. He
And I
just
can't
has his
really
monster
go
form.
farther into that without, I don't know if that would be a spoiler,
I know.
talking about
I've
who the dad would be.
there's, so many places you could spiral on that because I don't think it's discussed enough, which maybe it will be in the next ACOTAR book.
Mhm. Whatever that is.
I know. So next week we're going to pick up with chapters 65 through 72 with Aelin and Chaol finally having the conversation that they should have had in chapter 1. Rowan and Aelin finally kissing.
Yay!
And like she told Adian, Aelin walking right through the front doors of the glass castle.
And Chaol promising Nezrin he will walk out of the glass castle. Sarah.
Thank you guys so much for the reviews and ratings.
Thanks, y'all.